GTA Online released over 10 years ago, and in that time they've added so many different businesses and properties that it can be a little overwhelming when deciding what to buy first. In this video, I'll be breaking down the best solo businesses currently in the game, and showing you how to make as much money as possible from everything they have to offer. The first one we're going to be looking at is Special Cargo, which is of course one of the oldest operations in the game, but despite its age, it still offers up some of the best and easiest money that GTA Online has to offer. Whether you want to go active and collect the cargo yourself, or choose the passive route and pay your staff to source it for you, this business won't let you down when it comes to earning some serious cash. To get started, you'll first need to purchase an office building, which can be found over at the Dynasty 8 executive website using the in-game internet on your phone. Once you've got that squared away, you'll want to come over to the computer in the corner here, where you can then log in and view all of your available options. When you click on Special Cargo, you'll eventually be presented with a map full of all of the warehouse locations scattered around the city. They come in small, medium, and large, and I definitely recommend going with the biggest one you can afford. The more crates that you have to sell at one time, the more money each of them will actually be worth. So when you sell from a completely full large warehouse, you'll be guaranteed that you're making the maximum amount of money possible for all of your hard work. But don't stress if you can't afford the big one just yet. You can always purchase a smaller one and upgrade it later down the line. To source crates, you can either collect them yourself, as I was just doing, or you can pay your staff members to do it for you. It'll cost 7.5k, and it'll take them 48 real-life minutes to collect between 1 and 3 crates. The good news is, you can continue to source your own crates while they're off working in the background. That can be done by accessing the computer in your office where we bought the warehouse in the first place, and you'll always want to source 3 at a time to maximize your time to profit ratio. The missions vary a lot and will be made easier by owning either a weaponized helicopter or an Oppressor Mark II, but even without that, most of them shouldn't give you too much difficulty. When your storage is full and ready to sell, you can do so by accessing the laptop inside your cargo warehouse. All of the sale missions, regardless of size, can be completed solo, although for a lot of them, you are going to need something fast and airborne to transfer between delivery vehicles. The only missions I'd warn you to be careful with are any of the ones that require you to use a plane. Some of them are fine, but a number of them will have enemies that randomly spawn at some of the drops, who will then try to shoot you down and take your cargo with it. If you want to be super cautious, you can always just change sessions and re-roll for a new mission. It'll cost you 3 crates as a penalty, but considering it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to replace them, and a full large sale is worth over $2.2 million, that's really not a big loss when compared to losing an entire delivery vehicle. As an added little bonus, by owning an office and a crate warehouse, you'll also be given the ability to export mixed goods and earn yourself an extra 50k. Available once every in-game day or 48 minutes real time, you can collect the truck outside of your warehouse and drive it to a fixed point on the map. You may get chased by some enemies along the way, but as long as you drive quickly and efficiently, you should make it through, no worries at all. It only takes a few minutes, and the payout is pretty bloody good for something that requires such little effort. The next business we're going to be looking at is the Nightclub, which can be purchased from Maze Bank foreclosures, starting at just over $1 million. The best thing about this business is it gives you 2 super reliable methods for making money, both of which are completely passive and require very little management. The easiest and most approachable way to get started is by using the Nightclub safe located inside the office on the 2nd floor. This will dispense 50k every 48 minutes, and all you have to do is keep your popularity bar topped up by performing a couple of very simple tasks. My favorite method is by ejecting drunken patrons, which will appear with a blue dot on your minimap whenever one becomes available. All you have to do is push the prompted button, and your character will give this drunken drongo the old heave-ho, where he'll quickly get thrown out on his ass. There is another variant where you have to drive them home instead, but if you select passive mode from the interaction menu before entering the property, it'll give you this one every single time. And once you do, your popularity will immediately be topped up by a decent little chunk, and you'll even get 10k for your troubles. The other big moneymaker in the Nightclub is a warehouse down in the basement, where you can assign staff members to collect goods on behalf of other businesses you already own. The stock they collect doesn't affect the other operations though, and gives you a completely new revenue stream on top of what you already earned from that particular business. All of it can be managed by using the computer inside your Nightclub office, where you can hire up to 5 technicians who can then be assigned to any of your MC businesses, as well as the bunker, the hangar, or the special cargo warehouse. They'll passively collect stock in the background while you're active in the game, and after a certain amount of time, the product will max out and it'll be ready to sell. Even if your nightclub is at max capacity, all of the sale missions can easily be completed solo, and the vehicles can also be upgraded to make things even faster. And because you don't have to do anything to build up the stock, this is often considered to be one of the easiest ways of earning passive money, with a full supply bringing in over $1.6 million. The only reason I didn't put it higher in the list is simply because you already need to own a bunch of other businesses to get the most out of it. But even if you're just starting out, the nightclub safe alone will earn more money than either the bunker or any of the 5 biker businesses by themselves. It really is a top-notch purchase and I highly recommend it. The next thing we'll be covering is the newest business to be added to the game, which is of course the Acid Lab. Included with the recent Drug Wars DLC, the Acid Lab offers up some seriously good money with very little investment up front. To get access, you'll first need to come and speak to Ron up here at Sandy Shores, where you'll eventually trigger a cutscene and a series of missions. They all vary in difficulty, but can definitely be completed solo regardless of what level you're at. Owning a Kuruma or another armoured car will make things a lot easier for a lot of the missions, but other than that, just keep yourself stocked up with snacks and armour and top up your health as you go, and you should find it pretty easy. Once you complete all 6 missions, you'll be given access to the Brigade 6x6, where you can then upgrade it into the Acid Lab by speaking to the mechanic inside of the Freak Shop. It'll cost $750k to set it up, plus a bit extra to upgrade the equipment so it earns maximum profit, but you'll earn over $1 million in total by completing the first dose missions required for setting up the Acid Lab and the last dose missions that follow that, so really it's not that big of a deal. In terms of making money from the business, it really couldn't be simpler. Just keep it topped up with supplies and the product will passively build in the background. You can either purchase them from Mutt inside of the Acid Lab itself, or by calling him on the phone and doing it remotely. If you want to increase the speed of production, you can do so by coming over here to the corner of the lab and hitting the prompted button. That'll reduce the time it takes to max out your product from 4 hours to 3 hours, sharply increasing your profits in the process. If you can't afford the supplies, you do have the option of doing a sourcing mission instead. They're not too difficult, but they do take a long time, and considering you don't get a huge amount of supplies for your effort, I'd only recommend it if you're flat broke and have no other way of earning money. When it comes time to sell, you'll find that the missions are some of the easiest in the game when it comes to doing it solo. Regardless of how much product you've got to sell, you'll only ever have one vehicle to deliver, making it the perfect alternative to the old MC sales, which really weren't that solo friendly. When your stock is completely maxed out, you'll be making over 300k for a successful run, or much like the other businesses we've looked at so far, you could test your luck and do it in a public lobby, where you'll earn an extra 2.5% for every other player in the session, up to a max of 50%. The next thing we'll be looking at is the Cayo Perico heist, where despite the recent nerfs, it's still offering up some of the best solo money that the game has to offer. Orchestrated by one of my favourite NPCs in GTA, Old Mate Pavel here will have you stacking cash in no time at all. To get started, you'll first need to purchase a submarine, which will serve as your main base of operations for the heist. Once you're the proud owner of a new sub, be sure to make your way over there to get things kicked off. You will have to scope out the entire island before you can get started though, but that only has to be done once, and from there, you only have to find the primary and secondary targets for each run. On top of that, there will also be a number of setups and prep missions that you'll need to complete for each heist. However, not all of them are necessary, and when you get the methods down, it shouldn't take you more than about 45 minutes to finish all of them. When all of the preps have been completed, you can start the finale by accessing the same planning board inside your Kasatka. There's a huge variety of approaches you can take, but in my experience, the simplest option is by using the Longfin to collect the secondary loot before entering the compound, so you can easily make a getaway as soon as you've got the primary target. Thanks to recent nerfs made to the heist, guards will now easily detect dead bodies, meaning that a stealth approach will make your experience a lot easier. Simply follow my path as I make my way to El Rubio's office, and then just retrace your steps to get out, and you shouldn't have too much trouble at all. The timing of the guards will almost be identical on 99% of runs, and you can usually get a pretty reliable routine sorted once you get the hang of things. Either stealth your way behind the guards or just take them out silently as you go past, but be sure to not leave any unnecessary bodies as it could get you caught. Even with the nerfs, you'll still be set to make close to $1 million for a complete run, depending on which targets you get and a few other other factors, which granted isn't quite up to scratch with what it was before, but there's still some seriously good money on offer, and it's definitely worth your time. If you need a comprehensive overview of the setups, the final heist, or just about anything to do with Cayo Perico, I'll be sure to link all of my relevant guides in the description, where I break everything down and go into a lot more detail. The final business we're going to be looking at is the agency, and after the recent nerfs to the heist, I'd currently rank this as the #1 way to earn money in GTA Online, and that's because it gives you not one, not two, but 3 reliable methods for stocking up your bank account and keeping you in the green. The first one we'll be looking at is of course the Dr. Dre contract, which in my opinion is now pretty much on par with Cayo Perico for how much money you can make. Available through the computer inside your agency office, this series of missions not only gets you paid, but they're also a lot of fun and have a pretty interesting story throughout. There will be a few initial missions that you only have to complete for your first run, but after that you'll have roughly 12 missions that you'll need to do each time. With a bit of practice, you should be able to knock those out in about 90 minutes. Helping Dr. Dre and successfully finishing the contract will bank you an impressive $1 million, which for about 1.5 hours work is pretty bloody good. The best part is, the money making goodness doesn't stop there. If you make your way back to the same computer we were at before, you'll also be able to start a set of missions known as security contracts. Available in 3 difficulty settings, these missions will pay between 35k and 70k for each of them you do. Granted, that's not huge money, but they often only take between 5 and 10 minutes to complete, and they're a good way of staying busy in between bigger jobs. Plus, if you catch them on a double money bonus, the payouts aren't too bad at all. And on top of all of that, the more security contracts you do, the more money you'll earn from the agency safe. This money will just build in the background and goes up by $500 for every 5 contracts you complete. That'll then cap at 20k per in-game day, making for some pretty decent passive income as well. And then finally, we're going to be looking at payphone hits, which can be accessed by calling Franklin directly or by waiting for one to pop up randomly on your minimap. These used to be one of the best side hustles in the game, but thanks to a recent nerf that limits you to 1 every 48 minutes, it's fallen off the perch a little. But for all of that, they're definitely still worth doing. The missions only take a few minutes to finish, and if you complete the objective, you'll get paid an insane 85k. So be sure to check in with Franklin in between missions and see if the cooldown timer is still active. If it's not, you'll want to go again and keep that bank balance ticking over. So overall, while there might have been a lot of big nerfs lately, there's still no shortage of ways to make money. Between Cayo Perico and the agency alone, you're going to be doing pretty damn well. And if you throw in a few of the other businesses that I mentioned earlier, you'll soon have more cash than you know what to do with. If you need further assistance with any of the content I've just covered, be sure to check out my dedicated money guides linked in the description below. But of course, if you found this one useful, hitting the like button would most certainly be appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to go ahead and subscribe as well. But until we meet again, legends, I'm Red Nitrate, and I'll catch you on the next one.